My brother said it straight to my face. We're family after deciding my beach house would be the perfect wedding gift for himself. So I replied, that's becoming less convincing every time you say it. I've always been the hardest worker in my family. Got a computer science degree, landed a job at a tech startup that went public, and made some smart investments. Mark took a different path, becoming a teacher, which I respect immensely. We've always been close despite our different life choices. 2 years ago, I bought a beach house in Santa Barbara. It's my pride and joy, a modest 3-bedroom place with ocean views that I renovated myself over weekends. I rent it out occasionally, but mostly keep it for personal use. My girlfriend Jessica, 31F, and I spend most weekends there, and it's become our sanctuary. Mark got engaged 6 months ago to his girlfriend Michelle, 28F. I was thrilled for them. Michelle's wonderful, and they're perfect together. When they started wedding planning, Mark mentioned wanting a beach wedding, but being stressed about venue costs on a teacher salary. I immediately offered to help with expenses, thinking I'd contribute maybe $5,000 to $10,000 toward their venue. Last week, Mark asked to meet for coffee. He seemed nervous, kept fidgeting with his phone. Finally, he said, "Brandon, you know how much family means to me. Michelle and I have been talking, and we realized the perfect wedding gift from you would be the beach house." I nearly choked on my coffee. "You want to have your wedding there?" "No," he said, looking me straight in the eye. "We want you to give us the house as our wedding gift." I sat there stunned while he explained his reasoning. He said I could afford another beach house easily, that it would mean everything to start their marriage with real stability, that families should support each other's dreams. He even mentioned how our parents gave him less support than me growing up because I was the smart one, and this would balance things out. When I didn't immediately agree, Mark's whole demeanor changed. "I guess I shouldn't be surprised," he said coldly. "You've always been selfish with your success. Mom and Dad always said you choose money over family." That hit me like a physical blow. Our parents have passed. Dad 5 years ago, Mom 3 years ago. Invoking them felt manipulative, but Mark seemed genuinely hurt. He left after saying he hoped I'd think about what really matters. Since then, I've received texts from various family members. Our Aunt Patricia called me heartless for denying Mark one small gesture when I have so much. Our cousin Nathan said I'm proving that money changed me. Mark's friend group apparently knows because his best man Jason posted something passive-aggressive on social media about people who hoard wealth while family struggles. Jessica has been my rock through this. She's furious on my behalf, says Mark is being entitled and manipulative, but she didn't grow up with him. Mark was there for me through every awkward phase, every heartbreak. He was my best man at my college graduation since I had no friends, my roommate when I was broke, starting out my support system when our parents died. The beach house is worth approximately $1.8 million now. My net worth is about $3.2 million total, but most of that is tied up in investments and retirement accounts. Yes, I could technically afford to give him the house, but it would mean liquidating investments, taking a huge tax rate, and losing the place Jessica and I love most in the world. But am I being selfish? Mark makes $52,000 a year teaching. Michelle is a social worker making about the same. They'll probably never be able to afford a house in California without help. Meanwhile, I spend more on my car payment than they do on rent. The guilt is eating me alive. I keep hearing Mark's voice saying I choose money over family. I remember him sharing his lunch with me in elementary school when I forgot mine. Staying up all night helping me with college applications, being the only person who called every single day after our mom died. Jessica thinks I should hold firm that giving in would set a terrible precedent. She pointed out that Mark never asked. He demanded. She says he's weaponizing our relationship and our dead parents' memory. But she also admits she doesn't fully understand sibling dynamics as an only child. I've considered compromises. Maybe I could offer to pay for their entire wedding, probably $50,000 to $60,000 for what they want. Maybe I could give them a down payment for their own house. Maybe I could sign over partial ownership of the beach house. But Mark was clear. He wants the house itself free and clear as their wedding gift. His wedding is in 6 months. Every day that passes without resolution makes things worse. Mark won't return my calls. Michelle texted once saying she had no idea he was going to ask, and she's mortified, but she also said she can't help hoping I'll say yes, because it would change their entire future. I love my brother. I want him to be happy. But I also worked incredibly hard for what I have. And the beach house represents years of ADR weeks, missed social events, and careful financial planning. It's also the place where Jessica and I fell deeply in love, where we've talked about our own future, where we were planning to raise our kids someday. Am I the for not giving my brother my beach house? How do I choose between family and my own future? Has anyone dealt with similar family dynamics around money? I need outside perspective because I honestly can't tell if I'm being reasonable or selfish anymore. Update 1. 2 weeks later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Your perspectives, especially from those who've dealt with similar family money dynamics, were eye-opening. I wanted to update you on what's happened. After reading your comments, Jessica and I had a long conversation. She admitted she'd been holding back her full thoughts because she didn't want to seem like she was turning me against Mark. But when I pushed, she laid it all out. Brandon, she said, I need you to really think about your relationship with your family, not the childhood memories or the grief bond after losing your parents, the actual relationship dynamics. Now she pulled out her phone and showed me a list she'd been keeping. Every time my family asked for money over the past 2 years, Aunt Patricia's car repair, $3,000. A cousin Nathan's investment opportunity, $5,000 that I never saw again. A Mark's new laptop for school, $2,000. A Uncle David's medical bills, $8,000. A Mark's car down payment, $7,000. A various family members' loans totaling about $15,000. None of them ever paid you back, Jessica pointed out. And look at the pattern. It's always emergencies, always urgent, always with this underlying threat that you're selfish if you say no. I wanted to defend them, but she kept going. When was the last time Mark called you just to talk? Not about money, not about problems, just to see how you're doing. I couldn't remember when you had your appendectomy last year, who visited you in the hospital. Just Jessica. Mark had texted that he had school stuff. Who celebrated with you when you got your promotion? Jessica threw me a dinner party. My family found out through Facebook. She wasn't done. Brandon, they don't see you as a brother or nephew or cousin. They see you as an ATM. And Mark demanding your beach house. Not asking demanding is just the natural escalation of behavior you've been rewarding for years. It hurt to hear, but something clicked. I remembered Mark's wedding planning posts on social media, elaborate Pinterest boards, discussions of destination venues, champagne taste on a beer budget with the assumption that somehow it would work out. Had he always assumed I'd foot the bill, Jessica suggested we practice responses together. She role-played as Mark while I practiced saying I love you but I won't be giving you my beach house. I'm happy to contribute $10,000 toward your wedding as my gift. The first 10 times I couldn't get through it without adding apologies or justifications. Jessica pointed out how I was unconsciously making myself smaller, speaking faster, almost begging for forgiveness for having boundaries. You're not responsible for Mark's financial situation, she said firmly. You're not his parent. You're not obligated to sacrifice your own future because he chose a lower-paying career. And Brandon, he chose his career knowing the pay. That was his decision, and it was valid, but the consequences are also his. We practiced for 2 hours. By the end, I could say it clearly. I love you, Mark, but I will not be giving you my beach house. I called Mark the next day. He answered on the third ring, his voice cold. Finally ready to do the right thing, I used my practiced words. The silence afterwards stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. I can't believe Jessica turned you against your own family, he finally said. Jessica helped me see patterns. I was too close to recognize. I responded, proud that my voice stayed steady. This is my decision. Mom would be disgusted, Mark said. She always said family comes first. She'd be heartbroken that you're choosing property over your own brother. That almost broke me. But I remembered Jessica's words. Your parents are gone, Brandon. Mark doesn't get to weaponize their memory to manipulate you. Mom would want us both to be happy, I said carefully. I'm offering $10,000 toward your wedding. That's a generous gift that honors our relationship without destroying my own future. Mark laughed bitterly. $10,000? That's what you think our relationship is worth. That's pocket change to you. It's a significant gift, Mark. It's what I'm comfortable giving. You're really going to let Jessica control you like this. She's poisoning you against your own blood. I'm going to hang up now, I said. I love you. My offer stands. I hope you'll reconsider. I hung up to the sound of him yelling. The family explosion was immediate. Aunt Patricia called me a disgrace to your parents' memory. Cousin Nathan said I was lost to greed. The social media subliminal intensified, but Jessica helped me see something else. None of them offered to help Mark themselves. Aunt Patricia, who called me selfish, didn't offer her own savings. Cousin Nathan, so concerned about family, didn't offer to contribute. They were generous with my money, not their own. Jessica also pointed out how Mark had deliberately asked me alone, not in front of Michelle. He knew it was outrageous, she said. That's why he ambushed you. Michelle called me yesterday. She was crying. Brandon, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was going to ask for the house itself. We talked about maybe asking to have the wedding there, but the house itself, that's insane. I'm mortified. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know, she admitted. I love Mark, but this has shown me a side of him I didn't know existed. The entitlement, the manipulation. He keeps saying you owe him for all the ways your parents favored you, but that's not how family works. She paused. Can I ask you something? Has Mark always been like this about money? I thought about it, really thought about it. And yes, Mark had always had a victim complex about my success, as if my achievements somehow diminished him. He'd make jokes about being the poor brother at family gatherings. He'd mentioned my salary whenever he paid for anything. He'd always framed our relationship through the lens of what I had versus what he had. Yeah, I admitted I just never wanted to see it. Michelle sighed. I have a lot to think about. Jessica held me that night while I grieved, not just for the current situation, but for the brother I thought I had, the one who loved me for me, not for what I could provide. You're doing the right thing, she whispered. It hurts now, but setting boundaries is the only way to have healthy relationships. Either Mark will learn to respect them, or he'll show you who he really is. Either way, you'll know. Update 2. 6 weeks later. The last 6 weeks have been a masterclass in family dynamics and personal growth. After my conversation with Michelle, things got worse before they got better. Mark went nuclear. He sent a family-wise email detailing every perceived slight from our childhood. How our parents paid for my SAT prep, but not his. How I got a car for graduation, a 15-year-old Honda, while he got a watch. How our dad spent more time at my science fairs than his soccer games. Years of resentment poured out in a 3,000-word manifesto that painted me as the golden child who now refused to share his stolen advantages. Several family members forwarded it to me with their own commentary. Aunt Patricia added Mark's right. You were always the favorite. Uncle David said, maybe now you'll understand how Mark has suffered. But here's what changed everything. Jessica's parents, Robert and Linda, invited us to dinner. They've been watching this unfold from the sidelines. And Linda, a retired family therapist, offered perspective that shifted my entire worldview. Brandon, Linda said gently, you're dealing with multi-generational patterns here. Your parents, rest their souls, probably did favor you in some ways. Not maliciously, but because you were easier. You got good grades, you didn't get in trouble, you followed the path they understood. Mark struggled more, needed different support they didn't know how to give. Robert, a retired financial advisor, added, but here's what Mark doesn't understand. Your success isn't just from those advantages. You worked 18-hour days, you took risks, you lived on ramen for 2 years to save money. You earned what you have. Linda continued, Mark's pain is real. His feelings of inadequacy are valid, but his response demanding you fix his life by giving him $1.8 million in property. That's not healing. That's perpetuating dysfunction. They helped me see that I'd been enabling Mark's victim narrative by constantly trying to compensate for perceived inequalities. Every time I gave him money, I was unconsciously agreeing that I owed him something, that my success was somehow stolen from him. The kindest thing you can do for Mark, Linda said, is to stop enabling his narrative that he's powerless. He's a grown man with a job, a fiancé, and agency over his own life. Armed with this perspective, I wrote Mark a letter. Not an email, not a text, a physical letter that I had to think about, revise, and deliberately send. Here's part of it, Mark. I've read your email several times. You're right that our parents weren't perfect. You're right that sometimes things felt unfair. Your pain is valid, and I'm sorry for the times I didn't see or acknowledge it. But Mark, we're both adults now. Our parents are gone. We can't change the past, but we're each responsible for our own futures. I'm proud of you for becoming a teacher. You shape young minds, make a real difference in the world. That matters more than any amount of money. But if you're unhappy with your financial situation, that's something only you can change. I can't and won't fix your life by giving you mine. I love you. I always have. But love doesn't mean I have to sacrifice everything I've built. It doesn't mean I have to prove my affection through increasingly large financial gifts. My offer stands. $10,000 toward your wedding as my gift to celebrate your marriage. If you can accept that with grace, I'd love to be there to support you. If you can't, I'll understand. But I won't be manipulated or guilt into giving more. You're my brother. That will never change. But the dynamic where you see me as a resource rather than a person, that needs to change. With love, Brandon. Mark didn't respond directly to me, but Michelle called. She was crying again, but this time they sounded like tears of relief. Brandon. Your letter. Mark needed to hear that. He broke down completely. For the first time, he's talking about his real feelings instead of just his anger. He's been carrying so much pain about your parents, about feeling less than, about choosing teaching, despite knowing it would mean financial struggle. She paused. We've decided to postpone the wedding. My heart sank. Michelle. No, that's not what I wanted. Dash? No, listen. She interrupted. This is good. We need to work through this. Mark needs to work through this. We're doing couples therapy and he's doing individual therapy. The wedding was becoming this symbol of proving something, of showing everyone he'd made it. That's not what marriage should be about. Over the next few weeks, other things shifted. Jessica and I grew even closer through this trial. She showed me strength, wisdom, and compassion I hadn't fully appreciated before. We started talking more seriously about our own future marriage, kids, the life we wanted to build together. Some family relationships dissolved. Aunt Patricia and I are no longer speaking after she sent a particularly nasty message about how I'm spitting on my parents' graves. Cousin Nathan only texts when he needs something, which I now politely decline. But others surprised me. Uncle David called to apologize. Brandon, I've been thinking, we've all been treating you like a bank, haven't we? That's not right. You're a good nephew, and you deserve better from us. A couple of Mark's friends reached out privately to say they thought his request was outrageous and they were sorry for the social media pressure. Most surprisingly, Mark's best man Jason apologized. Man, I got caught up in Mark's version of events but asking for your whole house. That's wild. I should have been a better friend and told him that was crazy. Final update. 4 months later. I'm writing this final update for my beach house where I'm sitting on the deck watching the sunset with Jessica, my fiancée, as of 3 days ago. But I'm getting ahead of myself. 2 months ago, Mark called. His voice sounded different, calmer, more grounded. Brandon, can we talk? Really talk. We met at our old favorite burger place, the one we used to go to with Dad after Little League games. Mark looked different too. The constant tension he'd always carried in his shoulders was gone. I've been doing a lot of work in therapy, he started, about Mom and Dad, about us, about my own choices. I need to apologize. He took a deep breath. Asking for your beach house was insane. Like, actually insane. Michelle and my therapist have helped me see that I was trying to take what you'd earned instead of building something myself. I was so focused on what you had that I couldn't see what I had. Mark Dash, I started, but he held up his hand. Please let me finish. I've been resentful of you since we were kids. Not your fault. You were just being you. But every time you succeeded, I felt smaller. Every time Mom and Dad praised your grades, I heard that I wasn't good enough. When you made money and I became a teacher, I told myself you were shallow and I was noble, but really, I was just jealous and scared. He smiled ruefully. My therapist says I developed this narrative where you owed me because of cosmic unfairness. But life isn't fair, and more importantly, you didn't create the unfairness. You just lived your life. I'm sorry too, I said. I should have seen your pain earlier. I should have been a better brother, Dash. No, Mark interrupted. See, that's the thing. You were a good brother. You helped when I asked. You celebrated my successes. You were there when I needed you. The problem was, I only saw you as what you could give me, not who you were. We talked for 3 hours about our parents, our childhoods, our fears and dreams. For the first time in years, I felt like I was talking to my actual brother, not the resentful stranger he'd become. Michelle and I set a new wedding date, he said eventually. 6 months from now. Small ceremony, maybe 30 people. We're paying for it ourselves. We both got second jobs. Tutoring for me, freelance grant writing for her. It'll be simple, but it'll be ours. I'd still like to give you the 10,000. Dash, I started. Mark shook his head. I appreciate it, but no. I need to do this myself. I need to prove to myself that I can build something without your help. Not to hurt you, but to heal me. I understood. We hugged in the parking lot and it felt like hugging my brother again. The wedding happened last weekend. It was beautiful, a small ceremony at a rented beach club about an hour from my place. Mark had invited me and Jessica, and when he saw us arrive, his face lit up with genuine joy, not calculation or resentment. The ceremony was simple but perfect. Mark had written his own vows, and part of them hit me hard. Michelle, you've taught me that love isn't about what someone can give you, but about who they are. You've helped me see that building something together is better than being given something alone. At the reception, Mark pulled me aside. Brandon? I want you to know, seeing you here means everything. Not your money, not your connections, just you and Jessica being here to celebrate with us. Later that evening, after the toasts and the dancing had begun, Mark clinked his glass for attention. "I want to say something," he announced. "My brother Brandon is here tonight, and I need to publicly apologize. A year ago, I did something awful. I let my insecurity and entitlement poison our relationship. I demanded something I had no right to demand, and when he rightfully said no, I tried to manipulate him." The room was silent. Michelle took his hand, nodding encouragement. Brandon Mark continued looking right at me. "You've always been a good brother. I just couldn't see it because I was too focused on comparing our lives instead of living my own. I'm sorry, and I'm grateful you're here despite everything." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. I stood up and hugged him, and everyone applauded. Later during the reception, Mark found Jessica and me on the beach. "I have something for you," he said, pulling out an envelope. "It's not money," he added quickly, seeing my expression. Inside was a letter. It read, "This certificate entitles Brandon and Jessica to my complete blessing and enthusiastic support for their future together. I see how you look at each other, how you've weathered this storm together. Jessica, you helped my brother find his backbone. Brandon, you found someone who sees your worth beyond your wallet. When you're ready, I'd be honored to be part of your wedding as a guest, a groomsman, or just the guy cheering the loudest. Your real brother, Mark." Jessica was crying. "I was close to it." Mark grinned. "I might have noticed that ring box in your jacket pocket earlier, bro. Don't worry, I didn't tell anyone. 3 days ago, I proposed to Jessica at our beach house, the one Mark had demanded, the one that had almost torn our family apart but ultimately helped rebuild it stronger. She said yes immediately. You know what I love most about this place now?" she said after I'd slipped the ring on her finger. "It's not just our sanctuary anymore. It's become a symbol of boundaries, of choosing the right path even when it's hard, of a love that helps each other grow." Mark was the first person we called. His excitement was genuine, his congratulations heartfelt. "Can I help plan anything?" he asked. "I just learned a ton about budget weddings, and Michelle found this amazing florist who that's my brother, my real brother. Not perfect, not without his struggles, but genuine and growing. Some family members are still arranged. Aunt Patricia sent a card for Mark's wedding, but didn't attend. Cousin Nathan has disappeared entirely, but the relationships that survived are stronger for having been tested. Mark and Michelle are planning to buy a small condo in 2 years. They have a spreadsheet, a savings plan, and realistic goals. He still teaches. She still does social work, and they're building their life brick by brick. Jessica and I are planning a wedding for next year. Mark will be a groomsman, my idea, not his request. Michelle will be a bridesmaid. We've already agreed on boundaries around the planning and payments, and everyone's comfortable with them. The beach house remains ours, but now it's not just a symbol of my success or a point of family contention. It's where Jessica and I got engaged, where we'll bring our future children, where Mark and Michelle will visit as guests who are welcome because they're family, not because they expect anything. Looking back, Mark asking for the beach house was the catalyst for necessary change. It forced me to confront my enabling behavior, helped Mark confront his entitlement and resentment, and ultimately led to healthier relationships all around. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone isn't what they ask for, but the boundary that helps them grow. Mark thought he needed my beach house to start his life. What he actually needed was to discover he could build his own life without it. And me, I thought being a good brother meant saying yes to everything. I learned that being a good brother means sometimes saying no with love, holding boundaries with compassion, and allowing the people you love to discover their own strength. Jessica just brought me coffee on the deck. The sun is setting, painting the ocean gold. Mark texted a photo from their honeymoon, a camping trip they saved for themselves. Huge grins on both their faces. No beach house needed, his message said. Just us, a tent, and the future we're building together. Thanks for giving me something better than property, the push to become who I'm supposed to be. I showed Jessica the message. She kissed me and said, "You know what? Your family is lucky to have you, the real you, not the ATM version." She's right. And I'm lucky to have Mark back, to have learned that love isn't measured in dollars or property deeds, but in the courage to be honest, to set boundaries, and to allow everyone, yourself included, the dignity of their own choices. The beach house is still here. Mark's marriage is thriving. Jessica and I are planning our future. And for the first time in years, when Mark calls, I don't unconsciously check my bank balance. I just answer the phone, ready to talk to my brother. That's worth more than any property could ever be.